get the app? /.
I just got it.
Okay. So it should be let me know when you get it.
Sorry, I'm just getting that. I promise I'm not trying to like stand on it.
No. I didn't think you were. I think it's really good that you record all these debates.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yep. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'm tripping on this.
Yeah. Good. Alright, Kevin, good.
I'm good.
The advantage of resilience, AWCDA created loopholes like greenlight, rampant, cover infringement, threatening the integrity of architectural work production as a whole, imperils industry-only financialization creates the incentive to innovate. Mentioned with the AWCDA, the one goal is to bring effectiveness into compliance with the firm, without quantities of amalgamation, biological loopholes, instead of section 128, and the exception that allowing buildings to be replicated without violating the copyright district order. Text interpreted the eligible to agree to improvements without consent is due to architectural plans and definition of architectural work understood right before the AWCDA movements joining models for improvement against your production and development. Section copyright full sales as also to that meaning coding copyright distributed improvement. Production is rather toothless for artists and system market economic benefits from distributed with monopoly architects like instead of running and enter access to unstable and the bill's vague wording and depravity cause court decisions that flip the intended use of the AWCDA on its head. Now it's to prevent imminent industry collapse. Demonstrating the largely architects of the perfection before the AWCDA section 128. Follow the rule. Directing air courts to record contestants that design work to be going together. Design report production that constitute infringement with the court because of the building's visible representation of the live witness. Counter the goal of enhanced production coverage. So use picture representation device no other members use and keep your the court counter 120 production representations and mass extensions that can be counted on the same cover stated the rule does not make any sense for reverse of opposite conclusion intended by Congress. This holdings from the intention on the head the AWCDA restricts production of market has not been eliminated. Rules restricted artists will not be able to stop them scenario when its urbanization, sustainable urbanization is critical and increasingly volatile city environment adapting to new technology, demographic changes and ecological crisis. Only architects pave the way. That's why artists want to take the court. Architecture is a pivotal role in cities. Urban architecture influences the environment. It environmental change. Architecture is being crucial. Sustainable architecture reduces environmental impact. Impact and privilege innovative urban planning transforming cities. Well designed architecture all critical cities for driving prosperity. Actions for fundamental and stabilizes the population practice of bolster city governance. Lawrence 17. Urban population is about the first cities undertake sustainable information. Architecture is a great instrumental policies. This great growth has an impact on cities. Their governance architectural aspect. Very important for governance strategy. One of the challenges is creating quality space. Electrical place and market overgrowth. Makes cities not working with higher population density. Urban dwellers need great space and keep city governance caps as existential risk. Urbanization present efficacy come out 24. Cities force solutions to global challenges and important issues we have with 16% of population will live in urban cities where pollution numbers like acute political advice within the nation of physical elevation. Distribution inclusive governance solutions cities demonstrate city diplomacy for crisis the future of our local grow complex cities offer resilient leadership and global wide solutions to our greatest challenges begin local exchange in 1917. Our population balance relation issue short window to act about the annihilation of the fighting assault. Cities are becoming extinct to a significant rate ecological economic social participating municipal picture sustainable urbanization caps existential risks are where existential risks are facing our planet including the work dynamics of input evidence and AI driven communication initiative and NEG universal project growth as opportunity for significant broken populations like that catalyst for change of human negatively reverse to act reverse deforestation that is a change of resign reduces and liberate create healthy human planet stable relations with ourselves with global wars that UNG so receive opportunity to reverse 16 with 68% of people living in cities by the unique opportunity to design sustainable urban systems and urban population knowledge large scale solutions focused on sustainable urban planning can mitigate complex resilience economic ingenuity scenario choose disasters is the resilient orchestra bolsters and structure against instills resilience to catastrophic natural disasters events 23. Natural disasters cause catastrophic damage disasters and forces architects to mitigate future disasters in the games infrastructure and impact disasters critical considerations disasters and post designers of the buildings and desert shocks without withstand and when architecture prepared damage buildings use sustainable materials and buildings for resilience are highly vulnerable dense population infrastructure skills disasters fall across regions first infrastructure can reduce the damage to urban response and communication frequency considerability disasters increases more important than ever to create resilience and architecture designing solutions to converging dimensional disasters with a competitive innovation environment industry is necessary flooring flooding and wildfires are threatening cities architecture to minimize damage architecture commercial alternatives thing. Strong water, a lot of fun cities, complex flooding buffers, and river followers, and the surge well versus devastating effects on temperatures and wind speeds, good to the risks of local travel, special planning, also their wealth and land orientation, limit expansion prevention, regarding buildings prevention, you get impact the brink is now at FEMA shutting climate change models for the southern country. Last year, works with natural disasters, bringing the regions to be in major disaster declarations building for the past 30 years. Analysis of 30 years data millions have been affected from begin overhauling feeling and warming contributes, but is never the cause of disasters. They're inevitable due to natural processes, land cultivation, poor infrastructure, necessitating shrewd urban planning to mitigate the worst consequences of Earth's how turned into raging torrent, climate but farms destroyed responsibility of the land focus on climate and observe policy makers of players discount productive and settlements will live with extreme weather systems here. Meet vulnerability about weather management, urbanization, war infections, and other explanation. Don't intensify the situation, but other factors are key. Except cause current furnace was gathered by the source and increasing catastrophic disasters in the harbor planning given throughout different extreme. There's several impacts infrastructure talks cause like several resilience and nuclear destroying extinction wise 2019. Should part of the visuals should be all considered catastrophic good percentage and operate to level of I'll take good class water doesn't read this is the detect population speed and 98% of fuel and fuel. Good. We saw the following mention of the pillars of nuclear defense and medium will be distributed plan for survival. There's no plan wildfires cause extinction as per total to wildfire become powerful with living things protected with fire production the symptoms of warning by driver extinction in their own right overall. The ability to adapt themselves to chain events so just security to great down from riding force and every perilous is in play. Our temperatures left and hardy to the volcanoes not effects immediate financial crisis calling environmental catastrophe but extinction pop out in North Oki 19. Volcanic astroturf causing serious radiation migration air traffic such as civil society around river eruptions. The decatastrophic disease population for represented submission of and danger make potential dioxide and data zero. Splits into to next to the EIA. Represents training of the phenomenon construction solutions to the doubly detected growth for volcanic risk mitigation evacuation urbanized areas can be a global right next. Go beyond exposure more devastating than nuclear meltdown. Just as they have these economies and between nations opportunities of addition to need for resilient and natural disasters ensure widespread radiation release on mentioned before. That's all this is a devastating effect. Increasing radiation or consorting and generalizing disruptive radiation disasters big facilities, including power plants, industrial sites, cause structural devastation, can spread disasters far beyond the children that makes Earth uninhabitable. The loss 23. Release of radiation from dimensional all life, food, and migratory movements on ice, good, never seen radiation, computer cascading events, can dimensional less than the radiation, the extinction, right? Basic needs for human life, actually, so environmental impact and natural disasters categorically away to make our great power coupled with inevitable in turn and the percentage of risks can tips and 13. Computers cannot ignore the application of disaster safety began with environmental events degrade aggregation so main pushing in terms of future outcomes affected facility material reaching degradation and making snowballs complicated rolling change complicated resulting in with existential and irreversible again around social way with my rules and resilient architecture prevents against create our reliance is allocation nuclear use of level 23. Rules is an achievement. Don't discover your words of architecture, case space, nuclear means architecture, social office, and but development of land architecture, we don't provide and the helpful planning for design since the bombing with architecture, sustainable design, rebuild of architecture, taking the world more to the combat where we see the blooming secret. Where's the first of all, this is the planning United States federal government cities straight construction of cover rights by clarifying that section 128A of the Architectural Works Cover Protection Act cannot be invoked by against any cover with a tangible medium finally solvency the plan solved thus 223. Supreme Court does not have jurisdiction to remedy errors on the with permits and cover the issue Congress and subject architecture works and methods of the plans otherwise only the structurability like change prices architecture architects or however cover it's all the rendered with if one system is allowed invalid the other material system is unreliable cover rights are essential to success Architecture 24 architecture as well as distributed innovation brings services like legal permit that's super related legal permits good architecture works temporary extents beyond application comes to using architecture we might argue architecture some utilitarian purposes of roles forms and function architecture copyright or certain integrated building environments mitigation deserves reflection of modification of areas that is interesting value expression of the board's against the rights paramount no villain only U.S. Copyright Office can ensure sound international protection code 24 U.S. law provides that including the laws without restriction you may find it challenging for the rights which offers century damages and attorneys fees makes this U.S. registration critical they cover our Copyright Office pivotal role and reformers of the validity of certain degrees not office in local enforcement title 17 has been amended 10 times in the past decade that's UCO 24 largest public music weaponization NEA satellite technology sensitive remove act injury is critical to prevent misinterpretation or foot jack from ambivalent circuits will this 2020 statutory language include as result into interpretation of effective communication from Congress not right following judicial president of Congress acts overrides such as entitled to ensure that over presidency of the routine executive seeks of for petitions flag affected by legislation bills select new standards every 10 years after court failed to just like anything else is bogged down by textualists far to meet you a particular country's statutory interpretation was moved by policy consideration of desirable outcomes only the accessible of course without my statutory interpretation and restrictions of outcomes and writers misrate the process about absolutely
We don't access that.
Sure. Counterplans with pressure recommender initiatives. The plans made don't compete that's Yada Blue 95. Policy process framework shows essentially the second stage of formulation, policy process, development, education, implementation, formulation, creation, source of actions always result in adoption, formation, to several decision. One to be done, second policy drafted the adopted will carry out objectives of adoption is choosing what alternative.
Which part did you say you didn't access?
The very last one, that's all. Yeah.
What was the time of the card?
Like, for kind of
Recommends is recommended after pressure.
Oh, okay. No, we're good. Are you?
Yeah.
Okay. Natural disasters. How do they cause extinction? Is it because they like would damage the reactor?
Yeah, thanks.
Pardon?
You can
There is criteria on each of the what's up.
Yeah, I was just saying, like natural disasters is the more for them causing extinction that they like hit a nuclear reactor, and then the radiation gets caught in the sky.
The scenario of that, yes, basically.
Okay. And where is it? Is it? And why would that cause extinction?
Yeah, so the loss of it's actually really good on a spill. Even a smaller one would be able to disseminate that kind of radiation across the earth and make the planet uninhabitable because of the air and soil quality.
I don't see where you're seeing
It says
that.
there's
It's like
cascading
contamination's
effects.
happening. They give Chernobyl as
Yeah,
an
yeah.
example.
So it says
not.
without absent ecosystem services that provide basic essential needs to human life. And then he talks about nuclear war, but nonetheless, radiation makes it coterminous.
Like, would it cause a nuclear war?
It wouldn't cause a nuclear war, but it would cause enough radiation that triggers cascading effects like food shocks, migratory movements.
Okay,
leads to
I
extinction.
want to talk about the waste evidence. Where do you think this card says that like infrastructure shocks would go nuclear?
Wise, yeah, it talks about how grids are essential to the nuclear deterrent and have incredible access to first to second strike capabilities.
So like,
Absent that,
can
there's
you
no
give me a
ability.
scenario of who would attack the U.S. and how would that war go nuclear?
Nuclear attacks terrorists. It could be a rogue actor. It doesn't necessarily have to be an organized state actor. It could really be anyone that like targets attacks. But it's not about
Okay, and
like
how would
attacks.
that cause a nuclear war?
Yeah. Well, use it or lose it means that some country would attack. Infrastructure shocks ripple. So when there's an incoming nuclear weapon, we would be able to tell. Our sophisticated infrastructure that determines whether it's a nuclear weapon or not would be obliterated. But external from that, if someone were to attack,
Okay, and it's like
I don't know.
okay, makes sense. I want to talk about the like city governance. I guess just what is city governance?
city governance is the ability for cities to access multiple outer channels. It gets bogged down by the inability to urbanize sustainably. But in a world where they're able
How
to,
does the plan lead to urbanization?
yeah, there are two internal links. The Thorn 17 evidence isn't the best on this, but the Kamara one is more important about how urbanization is a prerequisite to cities being able to access to
I'm asking what the plan does to urbanize.
Yeah, so the plan would bolster sustainable urbanization in cities, which is able to get rid of the largest roadblock to city governance. Being able to
If I were to put like the Zaman evidence, if I were to put the Zaman evidence and like all your solvency evidence in like ChatGPT and ask for like a 2-word summary, what would it be? Or like 2 word, 2 sentences.
Yeah, sure. If
Yeah.
cement, it would basically stop.
Yeah, sure. So section 128 would be amended. Currently, there's a lot of legal loopholes that allow anyone, basically like realtors, to infringe on blueprints, architectural blueprints. The AFF obviously closed that loophole by amending that section 128. And yeah, I mean, that's basically.
Okay, and then what's the normal means after the plan?
Normal means most likely hunters.
Most likely. Okay. Yeah, that's true. Thank you.
Sending out 9 in that case. Or
I'm not saying anything just
Shall we go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
First off, grid is the only truth is that radical independence
Japan's like rainbow, the self and intellectual property are subjects. Contingent after its 26 assumption of Cartesian verbs arising that logically separate self from competitors is a misperception of this reality. Law 21. Everything we arise in depends on condition and the mental minds of perceiving it. This pain up against the fundamental truth of interdependence, including between humans and environment. Misunderstanding instrumental reality leads to suffering, including fellow problems of this. Leads to refined desire and belief that project leads to securing perpetual economic power that's over consumers. IP naturalizes the closed economic system defined by ocean. Ensuring planetary seeks to the alternative is to erase IP protection for competitors in favor of Buddhist cooperation. Conclude, we have 14 beliefs that power should not be confined to those who have been capacity without effect mentioned here conceived the world. Determinate and complex and civil independent mass everything in appear from Buddhist idea of personal property has to be accompanied by interdependence on the sound alone in the world create perfectly peaceful world through exchange oneself rather than the out of world property needs to be changed to get equality. The whole concept needs to be reconsidered as happening personal property. And the true intellectual can be loose in property. Ultimately belongs to humankind. Chances are the benefits unless dominated by selfish interests. I mean, it can be copied all interests in future scientists and rapidly advanced life forms that will give responses. Then you can use that for their own purposes for nuclear synthetic biology based on nuclear thinking. There's IPR connected facility. Justice says enemy. Even if we're right, next off is for competent the United States government should find a torch that's public necessity compels clarifying that the section 128 of its architectural works with the Copyright Protection Act cannot be invoked against any copyright with a tangible medium narrative jurisprudence to exclude protected rights and copyright. Applying the necessity doctrine IP solves its goals over held. 21. Protecting of right interest with the liability of shares and the share the incentive use of tech not occurred to overturn that nobility and these sources use Japanese flexible solutions. So the icon solution has source of access for a necessity incorporates a doctrine as for other doctrines like necessity comes after the disaster price of present and shows any liability resulting in privilege act law of constantly judges paying managers and liabilities. The important doctrine from other law doctrines that are becoming important as statutes or no doctrinal evidence. I think the connection just after expanding towards interference prevents margin by back contamination extinction just the subsidy is also to have a discussion with an asset tax science and realize market thanks to funding and showing grants towards interference one of the source of funds which have been for research organisms opposing black and the transfer capacities bacteria or damaging rovers consequently contagion and extinction. Next up is T subsets in terms of the atmosphere every subset divided like multiple words. 1 and A in throughout 2 and or concede 14 it must be read in all 3 IP protection the house 88 term protection IP must be read in all forms of IP 4 of CGS 78 of and against full of code neg and deals low enables infinite ask that's making limits ground lack of agent specification is infinitely a funding issue unlikely that testing by spreading 48. Next up the legit competent United States government should rule that certainly in protection by some type restrictions and commandeering judicial spending, encouraging default authority and rights substantial extending financial incentives, removal of all federal government states and governments to through an interstate compact. Clarified that section 128 of the Architectural Works of the Copyright Protection Act cannot be invoked against any copyright with occasional medium. Competence also is a model for state experimentation. Block 13 focus giving states fundamental employers the bed, not sufficient personnel to administrators are more expert incentivize experimentation, cities policy authorities of the federal government on state implementation. So our further to income so this makes our utilization more likely to develop administration through states for the centrality of future federal legislation. Federalism underpins power mirror. Top security federalism more relevant states of power with power that local law. How flexibility was a fill out not work each community requiring unique solutions based are defined by demographic without federal support nationalization and power transfer will. Less secure America must state enforcement must have authority of country. I can practice is extinction towards 21. I can say a few words that opportunity to make a compact and very protect divide in air places as power against terrorists with ISIS kinds of weaponizing play power and disability and duty respect is one reason for escalation class and extinction higher than ever before. Next up is the competent as a model for governmental risk analysis. The United States government should commission and allocate resources for rapid, binding, substantive, independent, macro focus, and retrospective National Environmental Policy Act review over clarifying that Section 128 of the Architectural Works of Copyright Protection Act cannot be invoked against any copyright limitation meeting and limiting the results of the analysis sanctioning those who do not comply. The competence also then spills over into the over 16 advices and emphasis rights analysis for the nation make this potential procedural and substantial practice that makes the line has after feed performance hard to become retreats of the line has made discretionary agencies undermine its very point form without matter has allowed ignoring macro scale risks like global economic disruption when environmental policy would remedies first under execution into the need extinction corporate 16 has ignored probabilism and never purposes that like terms of global warming pandemics about the consequences only sustaining careful study it will study improvement and that's making shortcoming in the discretion it has not been done enough to solve problems that's coming in public of minor or minor threats to judgments the product of sustained collaboration and communication because we're still management of the attention sensitive risk of the expense of broader system effects being neglected macro risks to which agency actions contribute good impact analysis step of careful retrospective study agency not considered to do that on their own but agencies for retrospective subsidy next up is the United States Parliament should repurpose some existing submarines as isolate community staff self-sufficient underwater refugees and marijuana and some rains increase the funding for family planning permanently repeal that gag rule and support international efforts to educate women, fully fund unconditional safety net program, and renewable align grid that both those overpopulation. The calls 13 years. The funders in charge of family planning, plan reduce replacement planning problem space. Her funding something the capital has wax market, wax house natural disaster resilience program. 22 rebuilding. Since Maria slow and complete whether another disaster funding. The auto increase market, auto increase. Now, in some reasons, avoiding station paperwork, the instruction subs, the rest of our energy options for the 12 offices, for 12 at the time, very food explosions to meet only 9 applications, the location for survival high power, nuclear reactor, warming oceans, so called dilute, radioactive elements, marijuana, cell fixation, green, 18, prevents radioactive based on nuclear war, and which with marijuana, capitalization, follow, which is found, measurable cleanup, not go to, in that case, casino plan, front, nuclear war, worst case, nuclear winter, survival, Rodriguez, in that 20, global nuclear winter, this experts, the doctor, the below the population, in extreme sun blocking, nuclear winter without extreme uninflated distributed target effects, limited to Northern Hemisphere Act, as a possible millions survive, Massachusetts, concerned by activists, what would it be, widespread field, and North policy for play or expenses increase some, for women to be 800 million to be killed in conventional, all compassion reaction to pulling only 1 to 10 years in the acts plausible attorneys are determined to change less likely effective and natural disasters to the conflict. Mechanism is extreme even if any group had 99% chance of being wiped out and energy. 1 to 5, future checkers only existential threat energy. 15 future ones include nuclear system violent and check AI. Damien weapons extinction if it means 1 to 100,000 arms. Include cheaper cobalt bombs and custom self-replication and include in dust extinction from the both have been specific violent release within 30 years to the weapons with radiation greater than and makes war makes like industrial civilization possible for technological development or not. 15 globally good civilization allows out to drill oil and my coal and central to society smell metal glass concrete neutralized that feels from cars around the world directly the world so kind of simple construction personal process using plus techniques to it doesn't produce building materials that coal solar power is difficult to produce high times and defense climate and event natural laws would be opportunities and understanding it as a hot road to require requirements to production and complete for land areas when compass is provided by 5 coal check out quicker artificial superintelligence is in it but that's being misaligned extinction with policy and then 28 likely the century for proposal AGI with the effect of our futures for future actions today first estimate was 7% after years or power recently ASLV as extras or functionality it says no correlation in intelligence beneficial goals with versus AIs but closest to recent acquisition some extreme acquisition that make or happen not aligned equal and this and aligned ASI required separate then aligned ASI not no urbanization all cost needs then 16% increase 16% and urbanization also stable city for urbanization government finance decentralization full financial control market financial control the impact of population which spark trend by reduced populations no wildfires impact 20 1.6 million wildfires across the US 96% across human action research and Massachusetts analysis of 200 million home wildlife urban interface from 92% market 92% no natural disasters December 18 it is only possible as a ground service in the natural disasters in Fox so except for community options being likely if exceeds were higher than 1 to 3,000% the exchange rate of 15% is about 95% from the level of societal resilience is not impact and radiation is taken out above AI plus extras which outweighs the extinction although 16 extra 16 also fate exists should be expressed lower extras under psycho factors underestimate Soviet market psycho factors underestimate Soviet
Yeah. Status. Conditional disaster was always one. Okay. You skipped the death decay. Is there anything else?
Death decay, permissibility.
Were there some substance definitions skipped?
No, I read all the substance.
Okay.
Oh, you said taxes was skipped.
Yeah. And
Anything silly
Permissibility.
other than he said?
Yeah. Anything else? Reasons for making team size?
No.
Okay. The definition counterclaim. What entity does it fall authority to?
the states.
States. How do they have authority to change IP law?
Well, that's the comp plan, the false story.
Okay. So, okay, well, that's pretty insane. Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Let me
that's just
counterclaim.
transparency.
But that counterclaim, like, why is one instance key? That was like a thing for like decades.
Well, sure, one instance, like NEGA might have been, has been a thing for decades, but our evidence says that we need retool current practices and give it more authority.
Okay.
And like the issue that the Colburn evidence takes is that like the split between procedural and substantive decisions
Okay.
is what has made NEGA gutted.
Okay. Start. Do you have to win that nuclear war would cause every single AI facility to like be like destroyed?
No.
No, we just need to win that it prevents the AI power.
No,
But, like,
we
it's
don't
really-
need, no,
so,
hold
like,
on, hold on.
what
We don't
if-
even need to win that. We just need to win the nuclear war for being good in the short term.
Yeah. Like if you're asking just about AI.
Yeah. So there any analytics on case that looks like besides what's in the
Analytics and
say no. Like everything I said, I might like orange it down more. Like social
Okay,
media
yeah.
sometimes.
Okay, so nuclear war. You have to win it, collapse society, but you don't have to win that it takes out all AI sensors.
Wait, hold on, dude. Like, all we have to win is that nuclear war is good in the short term, and we have a litany of
Okay,
reasons
so
for that. So don't like isolate that we have to win one specific argument on one specific scenario.
Yeah, but if a single like AI lab exists, then obviously
Or
your
that's
attacks are
AI.
gonna be
That's
more.
just AI, but not future wars. It doesn't got church.
What do you mean if a single AI lab exists post like nuclear war?
Yeah, then your attacks are inevitable because
Wait,
will.
why? Like
Why?
an AI lab can exist, but people that research AI, do the development over AI, they might not exist.
You know, you get single AI is gonna like this one researcher in the AI lab is just gonna create these science and
Okay.
sell any energy without any.
Yeah, like
Okay,
labs can theoretically
the
exist.
advanced
Only
power
arguments
plant
for
includes where, like, on the submarines, how will that ensure that, like, it's enough to reach up radiation when it emerges from the sea?
because there's a lot of submarines.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be staffed with, like, people and, like, supplies? Why would people, like,
People in submarines won't be able to recreate civilization.
Also, fiats.
oh, alright. Maybe just- Yeah, I'll hold it.
That's the problem.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it's if they don't.
Yes, I'll take this.
they drop it.
Yeah, if they drop it somewhere. If they drop it's like yes. But like yes, but they if they drop this. I'm just saying I got you that. I didn't read sorry. I just
Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Oh, can you send the counterplan planes?
They were-
Awesome. And this was on the Wii counterplan, right?
Yeah, all of it is, it's a 4-plane unit, you're trying to turn it into 2 extra lectures.
Thanks.
Oh, no, no, no. I got it.
I don't understand like that going.
You gonna go that way?
I don't do that.
otherwise no escaped internal net benefits, tags, and like that.
We didn't do like anything stuff.
Yeah. Other than case stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We did one thing stuff.
Start not good.
Alright, 6 of 8.
Or you just give it up.
I think you might be between
Okay. I just got Tracy. I'm good for order.
Alright. Advantage 1. T. Devolution. Nepha. Torts. The advantage check. And then Buddhism.
Okay.
Alright.
Advantage. T. What was after T?
Yeah, so resilience, T, devolution, Nepha, Torts. I'll actually go to Buddhism and then to the advantage check. So Buddhism, then the advantage check.
Yeah. Okay. I'm good.
Is anyone not good? No, no. Is anyone good?
Trump the organization both the city governments can do multilateral American societal resistance cap existential risk that blankets all the spark scenarios because it means that there is silent in the medical let's compare internet and next is overpopulation because of triple drop over crowded cities cause societal unrest and ecocide that cause certain nations that have creates food inequality next to population havoc that's Carrington going down the flow and this urbanization all cause all actions market bottom architects make them sustainable and urbanization crisis is underway 2040 by 60% people live in population meaning that urbanization is necessary only architects are able to create resilient people up to sustainable spark they say spark trends by reduced population absolutely no proof that Newport does cause extinction and it's immediate spark immediately out to decay every single scenario they describe is turned by nuclear war because it causes civil stressors and causes backers want to learn voters already using innovation technique they haven't established a breakpoint which means that it's time they say no innovation impact we can see it means that there's no impact to the tech disaster stuff they say wildfires no adverse impact is wrong warming the US shuttering means that there's uniquely boosters that are happening now which makes wildfires uniquely more than everything everything they say is interconnected the infrastructure systems all rippled and they say no natural disasters yes December 18 says absolutely nothing highly suspicious natural disasters are high and likely 2024 is uniquely going to be worse because of the shuttering and worse all culminating in nuclear disasters and radiation which turns the environment they say infrastructure societal resilience might not be an impact but the white stuff is fantastic on how it causes food and water scarcity which immediately causes quick extinction and even if it doesn't nuclear war as is impending and causes now they say radiation was taken out above absolutely not radiation spread any single instance of nuclear radiation leads from a natural disaster immediately impairs the makes society uninhabitable means that no one is able to survive even if they're able to get bunkers and all the weed they want which means that they won't be able to live on the planet otherwise I'm pretty sure they drop volcanoes share child migration those economies and start belly conflicts magma low concentration hardness is possible that's Apollo architecture creates diplomacy intercultural harmony positive ecosystem that mitigate war and terror self-launching scenarios brand and major timer spark impacts inevitable innovations inevitable mobility no compute on the center now take US which circumvents state regulation RDC
started. Wait, what time are we at?
Can I get your time?
We started like 20 seconds late,
Yeah.
but we were at one.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Just do like a single use. Yeah, six.
We're at 147. I promise I was actually.
Oh,
6:30.
Yeah.
6:30. Yeah. Okay.
Alright.
Yes, 16 stars, 17 authority no errors found in the finding of Tom Sun uses state of the Madeline kind of force in religious with global evidence to resulting with high school planet shifting new government structure knowledge of our terms to form in school. So therefore, I'm 10 20 years old, the car batteries to go older than ice age. Seasonally home the limited majority of the population, and even if not directly essential knock-on effects for 19 existence present for their existence as a species with the weapons and solution new going to cause a kind of exchange the human species global and likely is known most of the start for premature termination of the human species integrity is access to pandemics or existential likely to be seen check over nutrition levels of hunger but it has been easy and nuclear sparks the nuclear taboo bond team. Human identity is a segment of nuclear weapons or nuclear taboo nuclear described as an absence of nuclear since order to aliens absence of nuclear exposure which is likely to being but nuclear exposure or more prevalent least nuclear weapons more likely to be a policy. This is a decision of set of our conventional nuclear weapons as clear. Thus, strong lines fire single over long tail and it's not inevitable. Continue to say case on to demonstrate the absolute credibility which has nuclear excavation globally of multiple inroads to only take innovation self sections that's solely up 12. Technology not cause extra for the only mechanism of covering research works analysis minor recompense instruments and solving extra the current physical is not knowledge for the purpose of digital knowledge is today and any purpose of our technology or great extension risk market extension risk Rodriguez dead rocks the blocking bills the ozone layer be killed the distribution effects is not equitable cost extinction through knock-on effects and follow would spread across layer levels when one is equals 99% of chance was wrong would cause inbreeding or no chance of Bruce dying after church is wrong never will go with the already can see the emerging tech demons means it can go over a Darwin 15 nuclear war doesn't solve their effects industrial site and recovering RNG still have solutions but in my way the governance mechanisms that enable safe regulated development namely city diplomacy and which are all obligated to install all essential risks but severely unmitigated. No ASI, which is 23. Extinction matters are unlike the limits to overcome multiple to reach to mitigate access. AI is super consistent days. I always live with hallucination. The extinction of its none of these whether or limited AI is equal down on the limited and until biology just climbing up to us reject extras. The extinction always in transcending value to life. That's just our super low probability of limit 2. That's for sure. Outcomes about the worst extinction low risk very low risk of human extinction, which is why we focus more on the latter two subsets. We mean places that vacuums most rejected but functionally all topics and changeable expressible mediums conjugate instances case time later than amounts of non-aware. Could you decide to define as for AF ground nature make small mix of people in social failures that murder large times B predictable the most local definition episodes and IPK C limits. The skull leads like from text to failings to informs 4 functional limits innovation PTO states cap the other 5 reasonable voice reach the bottom of the substance animals have their singular tongue. Literal set of errors is either. I know it's kind of operation marks are loose so that's already 19 and right significant unenforceable means to the state that's the limit 17. Aspect we mean whether using T counter any further justification is bad the non-channel Asian counter but plus Asian counter voting is Watson just finding one area to evolution, condoms order just themselves. Choose extract the often sexual thing because the next is primitive vote. Primitive comment must be textually functionally better. The AFF branch range knowledge to cross canlines are vote looks to clash. Seals have often when it's often kills topics to a creature. Can't solve Italy disaster uniquely devastating now. Demonstrating Christ are already underway. Deep invalidation, Congress are uniquely capable of citing another section of the AWC data invalid statute. That Simon, don't risk Congress is critically inept. Seen as this is the courts are entrenched structure with the $5 million Congress like the AWC statute that's under the time and the constantly watered down and ignoring the statute is close by implementation that's witness inserted. The risk is high. Textual courts have no concern for what's more socially beneficial. That's inserted. E-competence, stable, legal for is critical architects. That's architect inserted. Primitive after the process kind of policy formation implementation are distinct, so it's legitimate. That was the theoretical evidence. Primitive after then kind of like primitive apparently kind of the issue. Brain will send text. No benefit. One instance. No, the no school birth and no solvency. No chance. 1 to 21. Just insurance out of the 1 10 restriction awareness group FD terrorist forward collaborators have the materials and produce them not turning no attention or able to know no restorations that care about common sport. NEPA, currently the kind of cross body functional competition and cost plans, cross by every single deficit. And then to cancel litigation, delay and this procedure, no compliance, CAS 18. NEPA falls out of correctable arbitrary standards, political enforcement, litigation, and sovereignty, legal trust compliance, and NEPA never pursues fixed multiple substitutes, remedial project option. As the discrimination sequence procedure, lower up the cost of litigation was and permit after the process of the kind of plan, permit after the kind of plan, permit kind of plan, other instance, text, brand was in text, no benefit. One instance, no school overclaim, for there's solvency emphasis, and deficits are defense. Criminal that was incompetent and insufficient, they can't solve for the excellent words they describe. Toward kind of like, really kind of like. They can't, they are cross-applied all the deficits yet again towards fail. That's Route 21. This chapter will allow them to people out of the cities now. The offer comes evidence of recent studies to do by negative side effects to our local research unnecessary to practice and raising costs of global in the jurisdiction that the most systematic comes today. And prove that through the possible kind of like, prove that then the kind of prove the kind of applicant come through another instance text below. No internal benefit. One instance, there's no school overclaiming the solvency evidence. Stop satellite space programs and data scanning solved. By worse, people will stop going to space. They end or going to the Buddhism cave. This is not a complete argument. We get new answers framework only evaluate desirability that can be unique links to solid alternative equals spreads the class of any other right to pay no subjectivity out factors like religion away. And we'll just know that insurance are but 6 ways close on 1 to lose ethical change 5. We'll mix our voters. This is unpredictable. Impossible to rejoin 6 from people that all comes to links our fails inevitably and Buddhist principles support property and adherence unless they don't counter their beliefs. That's 114. Buddha and Word doesn't change the living structure when they found something that states amongst it and will belong to them will be exploded when clearly except for forbidden all order to create with the community also set back simply will accommodate to the rights of the world still the recent second period will follow the local prevailing law and very own is not Buddha support the violent and lynch codes 1 here period 18.
Nurses in the order of watching the best of the Canadian life on the first of the boot keywords are brand. I need the next substitute. Keywords are inside education, work clothing, and create millions of copies of realistic cultural products, costumes, so said that any responsibility launch regular copyright and just offer the regulatory body for sanctions carrying out will be lost. All fails to the level left man, say proximal power, advantage kind of plan. Permit both, permanently counter plan. Permit to the app and any combo that plays multiple counterplans or whatever until exposed reaches brain with unpredictable manage. That dead clash probably doesn't link to that benefit. Can't stop age, click on navigate fails, and cost exchange for some false opposite. Where's for explanation that's for some tech over truth in. Family planning fails. People say no, it can't access other countries, which only the app is able to do. For convention or intermediation, family planning fails by expression of unstable organizations that can't solve. Planning existence, so safety programs like this will be Trump and other apps. No one will trust them, which means no one will be able to rely on them. We will be able to settle organization off the surface stream misspaced in the submarine. When they enter the active, they wouldn't be able to supply everything. It's simply too little. Underwater subscale, 17. Submarine actual maximum underwater distribution that is only much more able to be around impossible out of catch PC with burning sparkle maintain like damage submarine comes under overall would be possible carbon dioxide which is cost for need to be required. Something a liquid for traveling to isolation food, negative fiance voter, explode limits impossible to predict mandates.
You can process on
Oh. Yeah. Okay, let me make sure I answer all of those.
just send the important stuff for the
Yeah. Is it the Tracy admin doc?
Yeah, it is.
Um,
It has like star stuff, but you already read that, so it's just stuff on the bottom.
okay, I'm just done. You can start.
Okay. You're good, right?
Pardon?
You're good, right?
Yeah.
Voters, agent complex, process, conduct, permissions.
It's gonna read agents, neg fiat,
Neg fiat voter.
multi-point floating. I don't know if you said floating text. That should be it.
Okay, sounds good. I want to start on Spark. Do you read the code part?
Which one?
The code part.
Where would that be? Code? You already want to see.
But okay, I guess you said that there's no impact to innovation. Like, what was the word?
Is it just activation?
Yeah.
Yeah, inevitable globally and emerging tech is societally beneficial as per the NEC evidence.
Alright. Okay, sounds good. The crypt part on nuclear plus extinction is from a author, journalist, editor, and science communicator. Why do you think this has any flaws or prescriptive scientific studies?
Well, he's actually someone who almost exclusively studies existential risk management, so he's actually pretty qualified as far as that goes, but he also talks about the knock-on effects, which are pretty intuitive. It's probably true that in a nuclear winter would spread a lot of disease, decrease food production, extinguish human species.
Devolution crime plan. Validation. Why does this apply if you wouldn't say yes?
Okay, who would say yes? Well, if you wouldn't say yes, I mean, I doubt you're going to have that evidence specific to the AWCPA, which is uniquely kind of a turf war between district courts and Congress right now.
Like, why would it result in validation? Is my question. Like, if we're ceding authority, why would that result in validation?
Yeah, well, Congress and the courts have supremacy over the states. I'm sure that you have like a way to do that, but even if you didn't, that would probably spark constitutional challenges.
Dissidents, I guess. Why? What's the impact of this? Like, what internal links
Yeah,
do you
so-
call dissidents?
So, durable fiat means that we will be able to enforce all of the circuits, harmonizing with IP law. Design and evidence, and more importantly, the wagers evidence, are really good on how they'll just straight up ignore congressional changes, particularly ones that have already set a precedent
Okay, so-
in their own circuit.
Ignore congressional changes?
Yes.
What does that mean?
It means that Congress says, hey, you should do something, and the district courts say, no, I'm good.
Okay. Confidence, I guess. What is the warrant for it?
Just investor confidence, stable legal framework is important.
What's the link?
The counterclaim would be unstable. It's a completely new, unprecedented policy. Probably shatters
Or,
precedent.
why does this like conflict with the other justice fund? Like, if investors believe that district courts and the federal government broadly will reject an application, even if it passes through Congress, Why does that mean that investor certainty is impossible even though we have?
Well, yeah, investor certainty is something that's happening now as part of structural uniqueness claim because the courts and Congress
Yes, but
don't have it.
durable fiat is not perceived. So like people and investors will perceive that district courts won't apply it relatively, right?
Well, that might add a little bit of extra time frame to our impacts, same as yours. but
Like
I
how
think
can we
all of
reconcile
these-
this? If investors can perceive district courts, why would they also perceive?
Well, the take up that's necessitated by the courts resulting in what the act says as a result of like durable fiat means it.
I'll have one really short card.
Yeah, they got me out. So on innovation, there was also slow down.
What?
Just to answer your question, on innovation, there was also the slow down.
condom's on T, right?
Yeah, it was at the very top of definition.
Like definition, okay.
Okay, 5
Sailor.
Oh,
I'll go to the back.
Yeah. That door is open, that one.
See advantage 1, the turn first, and then all else.
So T at the top.
Second game.
Okay, I mean,
It's just T advantage.
Yes. Good, are you good?
It means throughout atmospheric protection every time copyright trademarks that WP along with they allow adding more than one trademark which is or copyright which is top goal which opens the floodgates to church driving removes any substantial links to fairness which TOC when units. It dictates when the always specific because side parties reworks the research and participation being calculating in part to a paradoxical doubt. Plaintiffs the vacuum conceded plaintiffs only people way to determine whether one is using the resolution of plaintiffs does not say in can you check that? Plaintiffs does not say in which means essentially they cannot mean akin to sexual function that only terms functionality the words not function and not function be functionally we meaning because also incorrectly they extend only the scope. Yeah, they don't say in the second. Functionally, they also do not mean they incorporate only copyrights in the context of infrastructure, which was their context explanations used to default to a no or limiting independent trees mechanism that manages software to the asset bias personal speech and topic that they know it has encounters on the topic we control to relate our definition. WP4 word WP them the best German social interpretation of the word that has like all the words usually defined. Two contrary paper users no one word table was already from interpretation makes it more readable word protection because it's debate not law school. Debate not law school. No picks one theory literature that's the text that's related or their OP. Two they're good featuring non-truth advantages which are absolutely correct. Functional limits fail. One office for the missing all we know their arguments. Two new rest education arguments no good evidence console debate traceability culture intervention with all reasonable the interpretation frame limits with competing interpretation to top the race to the top. Now go to the advantage. AI outweighs the turns into paper codes involves blocking the access for research weaponized dynamics and cyber shows entities and destroys and the universe that has unmanageable torture activity to achieve goals extras that outweighs extinction finishing all those hard. Now apply less with factors that are unspeed disturbing new options of bias and positive with disorders and the AI is only other intellectual and state does bring much the benefit even probably doing such areas that's all that at least one will prioritizing the high structure policy too and this is also risk background to benefit goals for essentially different also wants to suffering bottom trying to the larger by the limits of suffering background productivity factor covers the different animals like creatures and creatures maybe these research creatures features making the large simulation mindset memory and the element of the system for all the psychology between simulation to use and entertainment which is possible suffering from performance can be in the form of asterisk. Now there's a litany of impacts that the litany of impacts one synthetic biology software there's essential risk management pathogens that then pathogens become more filter improves the medical training research and modifying pathogens make them more dangerous you can learn their biology give their television biology visual line experience to contact back money calls inside and when you try to use the mobile the universe there's an aggregate solution that's nothing quantum back with the door user that you can do too much money you might bring unsolvable chain reaction links and government increasing energy close to the power social system with solar system that around energy bring about infinite structure bring massive particle lives driven contains this ability to accelerate blue surface power lines which polar central create black hole Chinese which is our AC fuel during the production of the whole event huge amounts of that like see parcels of ability looking down how and sphere human intervention provide behaviors might become better stable catastrophic back to the bubble big saying speed of light for dark energy observation for 2018 a new era in the church of marriage begun when digital no start no stuff and turn new set community directly booming living avalanche data will become available next negative value collapse back in the universe and our call 14 Dylan also took the entire universe observation will destroy all facts vacancies and collapse our energy high expect energy fragile stable to the collapse of to pay over in the state if they require jail also high load the decade is load case open decade decay against expansion overall we count existence will be observed to be observed state studies such as the repeatedly observing the higher energy will be observed the dark side of the universe keep higher energy collapse in the state universe will see 6 we saw looking we're all say 5 9 dynamics like 18 humans might be able to create language to take a revolution science is a
Synthetic motor direct energy from ATP and additional for comes develop percent about and new motor themselves move out of state such that in order of self-replicate since we can compose atoms self-replicate extremely very easy billions in short time to destroy any six matter was well eventually the absence as science is actually for controls perfectly designed out no but we destroy the humanity and earth can turn off our natural extremely temperate projects up we're proud research now throw out now yes nuclear war plus extinction I'll answer there stuff first throw out stars false narrative is grounded drug science Johnson two stars false narrative is very behind nuclear which theory science and drug science engagement it's actually started with the version will be probably back down its own 1680 the correct evidence is wrong climate lightning search growing solid economic repeat there in Pierce 15 episodes of the winter the maximum severe reduction was at 90 robot at all the artistry growing to the food is there like words of pure focus also to this couple of surgery provide full human food for differentiate allow for other sources to be ramped up and there's no risk of pandemics or 20 global pandemic culture there's new vanity for all the research stability for economic 50 lots of good the research that seems to go as long as it exists I guess it's responsible record from risk of 1.1% incompatible black hole humidity I'm going to say it's the bomb evidence is terrible less than saying it's model for risk after the bomb bear it's seen was some catching or where the word for no it's taking the first break next comes during the movement without nuclear nuclear mistaken say models drug science say self-apocalyptic evidence of the world making nuclear weapon and physics animation history simulations reproduce apocalyptic results whether it remains not something and the rules will cause no less often to spread their own drop and change or remove them rapidly watching the mouth skies weeks how we continue negative nuclear models with features so much so far along so long ago models repeat as long as it's computer gaming now there's no effect nuclear war effects are limited in northern hemisphere because so across the equators viruses spread out of the resilience agriculture functions along with food source precipitation all effects dissipate up to 10 years to storage extended temperature food below 2,500 nukes above ground atmosphere the atmospheric ethics and humidity survived by ages survives between isolated pleasure to human hand and then finish over right out of mobility extinction movement provide vessels new 80% dangerous and hang out rate of events is very low 1 in 10,000 there's multiple in other words one in Paris party encouraged nature researcher and becoming examination to take on topples one those these and models states and the global war between US and Russia where states around billion people not one facing security with security with terror Australia and effect of two industry countries that sustain New Zealand 2 islands is about 18 islands is about long collapse of the winter non-traditional sources radioactive contamination solar islands and service and with an isolated radiation or so radioactive contamination see almost are less contaminated now the innovation term makes no sense they dropped innovation dose solve anything from the other globe which they have also said in their own speech framing issue restriction or innovation effects are obviously solved by nuclear war explained above so any innovation dose can be or negative it hits all this alignment on spark is terminally impossible for innovation to be safe there's few restrictions for your safeguards like China Russia make inevitable there's no innovation impact one negative externalized exits pollution waste etc are all directly inevitable side effects that offset benefits to complexity is possible for predictive direction innovation that's that bad it's empirically likely and positives are out good means when innovation may not be harmful to continuous continuing rather than the minors just follow the one off it's accepted rather than scale that effects the new comes to appear a dark side of the item like consideration that are working examples of supposed cleanup and linkage range and new consequences of market for unintended consequences now transition did not have a single part on this nuclear certainly all scientists and trees are urban and would die we burn all accessible molecules needed blocks needed for more this is dark evidence time frame we delayed worse in our focus for research survival like 1500 guided performance and survival let's finish that it feels like they would build most of the living off the grid survivors would be enough to be able to sustain technical industry guys to continue on some civilizations are having great reduced population and able to sustain industry science isn't enough actually skip that we didn't read any cards don't need any new answers all of them now, yes, AI regulations don't solve it or bad. No AI regs. Year 22. The Congress is supposed to keep up with the change in agencies that were rolled like they change top law represent the normal, even if they were unclear Congress or agencies that are switching research to govern top laws upon us to speed upon complexity and nature of religion permanence of the fragmentation of government second and difficult online line be right trade AI safely or ground abroad. And to an otherwise manageable arm race. Watson 21 regulatory driver research underground cover monitor black restriction and then dangerous tech. By investigating the effects of vehicle missions and arms race to take off and extensions that rules made from the loopholes. ASI is possible one consensus. Verse 24, launch over 2,778, research published on top and exchange of the machine down for new government process 10% by 27 and 27, 13 years old, so the trigger was only 1 year earlier, 2 weeks since the legal LLMs community. 25 LLMs residential features that will knowledge skills to be sent to the vast general knowledge of the commercial model property user dominant nature in the knowledge also reasoning to taking the efforts of literally intelligence knowledge to enable us to acknowledge that extend capabilities and believe misaligned. It comes first. You'll plus C15 ethics is wrong for AI safety the way we were finished machines for safety the treat AI as part of planning concerns for this education for user consistent even if values we have moving to the wall modeling learning intelligence and process and values also of gun malfunction and third network because of externally hardware mark that credit externally hardware now yes future war impacts is extremely likely it's only essential that using ion cobalt bombs supply with far worse than primary reaction as other church and then shot the name technical trade which is the versus names also structurally inevitable urbanization now their offense urbanization is wrong people inevitably reproduce post after the 0.4 of the planet is still globally so nuclear war certainly solves the costs that default population in the first place they drop there's no natural disaster the compulsory record occurs in these for 2,000 years extinction rate was more than 1.1 that December evidence you can cross-file all nuclear war Oswald all new war defense. Now, there's no volcanoes here, Charlie. 22 super opens occur one from over 700,000 years. They show some signs of well, and the years between those super open sequence has happened. You choose on the end of the roll. They have effects of climate control only for a few. Everything makes its way back. Your nuclear radiation is also insert off because all of our nuclear missiles are induced by radiation. Yeah.
Okay. How do scientists know for certainly that this AI is going to become existential?
Yeah, like the 2AC card only says that ASI will not happen. It does not say whether it will become cool or not. We are saying that yes, generative AI could have benefits, but the risk and
Okay, I understand this. So
pain outweighs pleasure.
the scenario is like torture, right? Like AI is like equally torture.
Yeah, causes infinite suffering.
Okay.
The young Polsky evidence is also very good at talking about why ethics is a bad approach for safety.
Okay, I understand that. I'm just curious as to like what scientists, which people can verifiably say that AI is going to become able to start doing this?
like our authors.
Yeah, but like what are they how do they explicitly know this, right? They're not the ones actually innovating the AI.
No, they are.
So why should we trust the prescription claim an author who's like this could go existential if people are bad now? Like how do you know their authors are accurate?
I don't know where you're getting it because they have warrants that are credible and that make sense. They get untested.
The Great View, was that some standalone account?
It was in the one and two, yeah.
Is it the Red Sea? Okay, so why does that go existential?
Like, what do you mean?
Yeah, what's the terminal to Great View?
Extinction.
Extinction? Okay, how so?
Yeah, let me see what it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's about nanotechnology, so self-replicating nanobots, basically machines that move like atomic scale, go out of control and consume all matter on Earth, think more of themselves.
The Watson 20 minutes, right under transition, can you describe what he says? It seems like it's saying it's going to go underground. If AI goes underground, you won't be able to survive years.
Cool. Wait, what?
Yeah, you're saying that the AI is going to go underground. That's the Watson evidence. If it does so, you may be able to solve like the worst consequences of those.
Insofar as it can solve the or survive the worst consequences, we're saying that we're saying that won't happen. If you win, that some degree of AI will get preserved, it would cause an arms race which causes
Okay, why does nuclear war only impact the northern hemisphere?
like the Rodriguez evidence?
Yeah.
Yeah, because of the way wind works.
The way wind works means that it will only impact the northern, so the entire south will be able to develop HVAC.
Well, like winds don't cross the equator, so survivors are just spread out. Like the way the world works, it just geographically doesn't make sense.
Okay, so the nuke war would not affect the entire southern hemisphere.
I mean, like if you nuke the southern hemisphere, like sure something could happen, but
Okay, I guess that makes sense. Remember Maury?
like a nuclear strike on the U.S. or Russia would not go down. Because like the way wind works is they curve away from the equator.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. The recursive moving stuff, what is this?
Like
What is recursive moving?
And which part?
Spin 25 is very on the right for AI.
I didn't read that part.
Yeah, you can.
Order is evolution, advantage ground plan, head, or reducing head, EBIT ground plan, torque ground plan.
Take it out one more time.
Yeah. Devolution, advantage ground plan, Buddhism head, then EBIT and torque. Sorry, I just sent it to the wrong channel, so. I'll shut it down. I sent it to the wrong channel first.
Okay, I'm not saying it.
Now this is all the time.
take action for a head attack against everything angle. 2, construct active pro. First one, step up necessary insufficient limit of badass out defense plan. 3, organization choice or support. Constitutes test new position. 4, negation theory, reject non-original theory. It's archery. It is not corrected from first principles. Infinite thinks of its bait marching repair. Thus, infinite regress is used in level case, seeking links, DA, seeking mutual self offense is what fails. At least all offense, infinitely archery, and turns research. The force points of process now. Process complex are bad. There's no link for torque complex. It's a thing. It's not the offering or immediacy. But it's good. One, testing is a discrete topic that finds the best policy. In the spirit of any defense of any topic, actually be count by 2. Next, like the talk is huge. This one, that was above, and will be below 2. 3, arbitrariness, that was above. Advanced count. Concede the burn theory is used to direct argument, not team. Quantum takes on multiplying theory. And the K, the burn theory is used to direct argument, not team. Takes good as above. It applies to all case. Not the compound, not which is uniquely legit. It's just fine against you ask. Not worse because they have pre-arm benefits for NEG, which is an independent reason to reject team. But winning fairness and clash, counter the need exposed for 30 minutes before the round. Need the compound, concede the burn theory is a reason to direct argument, not team. For compound, compound tells down ways. Providing a standard public consensus compels protection was not mandated while it wasn't trying a model for greater approach to authority. That benefit was dropped. Bring defense to the top. Back intimidation causes extinction through worse margin consolidation and colonization, which makes foreign pathogens to Earth, which we don't have natural resiliency, guaranteed extinction. The contagion every person on our skill is absolute. One instance is alone sufficient to set a broader model for experimentation, enables checks against the fact of contamination. Active law is implemented over time. We know skill of broadly by setting a signal of increased adoption in the future. That's one and see how it dumped in other warrants were answered above. So we don't have a card or warrant. And also inevitably test based on the future, which is our scenario, and they will overwhelm public backlash to get off the road by using torsion interference to interfere. Choice 1 of 2 book 1 is not successful in complex advanced plan. If you guys are narrowing, I can pressure preclude enforce against back contamination. Let's drop. So any recent attacks severs the app. Narrowing refers to not applying rights present in the plant's area B. No force narrowing refers to the force plan applied present. Narrowing makes it a frequent practice center present effect. Adult issue whether the system IPR resident is an effect on IP basic models a single and links to that benefit, but not creating a toothless exception does not have standalone authority. 2. Overriding interest. Show according new liability requirements in rights must overturns, which precludes tech adoption. Held it. Now, due to confident assignments of putting issue for AFF on the competition must be the Excel mandate, not affect anything else for distinction. Hearing substance, there eliminates all confidence because all can lead to the plan somewhere down the road. 1, competent plan, and weakens IP protection. That was about 2, exclusivity, IPR is exclusive. When the sequester nature are exclusive, which means the IPR provides the holder the opportunity for others to engage. Of course, that held the exclusive rights on the law. Demand necessitates that contingent privilege, not right. Held 21, privilege for the necessary contingent upon proportionality, actually correct that it turns out not be proportionate. John by the third feature, 3 regime, IPR, total as legally sustained, only unveil 500, IPR distinguished force of like property, which focus on our single force on toxic parties. The business and kind of rather than incentives to build around adjustment enrichment, positive economics or skill over forward needs for laws for use now. That's line of lit, particularly because Damien has already committed to the position of traditional forms IP and interrelease. Any chance of getting key terms and incentivize vagueness for law allows infinite uncritical advantages. Let's go to core top BAs like politics or IP bad, so you can tweak any projection in any way. Friend BCD BAs, available ways to be norms that precedent. In limited part of the topic is inherently a cost of care now. Delay 0, the confidence is instant. If there's no impact to small differential between them. Now, the other ones were wrong in validation. It doesn't link because the confidence guarantees good faith enforcement work in both ways, which was done in cross-sex. Now, concerning and dissonance distance with them, it's not unique. IP is constantly changing, including constant internal changes. That's inserted innovators care about protection, not the label. Jordan. Next 6. Innovators and investors are not justified labels, not the rights. Remember, simple more protection enable them to exploit crossing on started rights and new rights remedies, lock and run against controversial obstacles. Versus conceptual distortions. Source standards are clear, easily navigable by businesses. Well, 97. Interpretation is not unique. Sort and spend dollars for rules have benefits. It's generalized standards and commercial settings. It's not unique. Market not unique. Now, portfolios was answered above. It's not specific. It doesn't assume that the company is a bill safe that takes in very prices. Now, the permitting process is intrinsic in terms of app, crossfire, everything. From public blood, blade is a solid crossfire to both advanced pain results in eventual muddling and single center. So that's that way. Presumption post neg. This takes more action. It's intrinsic as that immediate post immediate action that's not immediate. Can't serve straight immediate. 9. Should the complete obligation on discretion to convert information as well as with the other issues covered that includes the plan that bans. It includes the plan that bans plan that's above. Confidence was only need to function competitive against new apps. 1 arbitrariness, 8 manipulation utility. It's either to arbitrary undefined by the language is subjective. Arbitrary gaps level processing. 2 95 pocket shot, no 48. Combo the key test at the illusion time cases. In combo dual gas after asking get more gaps and big gaps are key to research. 3 test top value competition is key aligned for textual or functional standard opportunity. Just like textual software app, that's the entire topic. No position means plan. The United States should stress its right. 4 logic means plan. Not better, not defense. 1 other terms, obviously, I guess this should make it very check. 2 testing research. Now, but it gets all 1 vagueness that was above. 2 current book that was also above. Vagueness was wrong. Competence not specified in test case, which models a single. 3 we need for answers proof is the opportunity cost. We are opportunity cost down at the piece of mediation attorney.
So it's grouping with delay.
I said group delay and validation doesn't apply to count plan guarantees durable fiat court enforcement because it doesn't be off say no or other stuff. It can be off exclusivity.
Hands up what?
Exclusivity and regime. Like permit count plan does it. The permit count plan it does not be off like surname or agency.
Okay, yeah.
So like it doesn't.
Okay.
Yeah, like so like say no would not be true or like invalidation or down because the count plan also guarantees good fit.
We're talking theory and T cells and stuff, right? One 13.
There will be something.
That's enough.
How much?
What, 113?
Different cards.
Yeah, there are cards in city, right? Going to be advantage. T. I'm answering you into that very call. One, 13.
Stop that. 110.
110.
New maps are good force critical thinking, topic innovation, the generics condom, and block mitigate any regression. This doesn't justify any negative and we enter this round of 11 impacts only 2 were related to nuclear, whereas they dropped most of them urbanization, bolster city governance, creating the multilateral framework inside of resilience cap, and critical that's Kamara. Even if it's inevitable, sustainable urbanization caps are risk. Yes, terminal that was above, and yes, finances because architecture is independently wildfire. Rebels and shutdown civilization, driving extinction to institutional collapse, and planetary invasion, sustainably permanent is the original evidence. New York had natural disaster defense doesn't apply. Air effects are specific and not about wildfires or volcanoes, volcanoes, talking trade, air travel, migration, flows, economies, and start violent conflicts, magma, alone, cause extinction, harness is impossible. Pavel car is wrong, says eruptions are rare, but they're increasing due to ecosystem function now, radiation, sickness spreads from disasters, human, natural and human life, that's the best scientific consensus, arguments, text, reject, asterisks, extinction outweighs on magnitude, kills, children the future generations, because you have the chance of solving any take of the future, the low probability of comparative extinction era. Kevin cut this card in, cites AI experts, all this is wrong, built and negotiate to drop this, low probability still incidental next. The question of alignment and AI development, defense takes one, and out, we didn't read bomb, drop tons of evidence, not low now, specific bios increase risk, that's not just, or not near one that was based into bio-resistant investigation, the bio-writer, and simply resistant delay is not easy. That parts can be easily obtained and several new particle colliders, when studies of black holes are impossible, let's see, the LASA creates black hole, they'll be too many times smaller than a single atom, marking single atom. This answers quantum dark energy and take a C14. There's anything we do now with the universe is really, really durable. The universe is about 3 times selling clothing created by black hole, regularly, except for on the scale of power exponentially exceeds anything human needs, like the breeze river, alongside we don't have to do anything in the world doesn't already doing anything you do. Everything humanity is done as long with the natural order versus something you are. Considering the process naturally in space and averages like unlikely to use something that early to be safe for a long time. 6 times as well in the universe saying that no room for dark matter, market, no room for dark matter. Now, the gas nuclear cause extinction on the northern hemisphere is limited to limited powers represent the cost of your one study start. Here, some review studies with 0 errors includes by extinction from global famine for 50 years, 1,000 ice age that wipes out humanity. Johnson's wrong study. Study had 0 errors and already concedes an internal link about war starts 2 is not constant, nuclear war causes exceptional famine. Pandemics and disease, that's for yes defense. Or isn't about spread from a nuclear war, which is the unique factor, which is the unique vector. Climate lag is wrong, and immediately blows the ozone that was star above, and food stocks too. Actually, it's estimated that star 3 is the nuclear taboo, it's working with it's permissible to use nukes and future guaranteeing extra public death bomb. Radiation is a unique factor that causes extinction that spreads across the globe, and weather patterns is the one you see no isolation stars. The weather's rich islands and groups and New wrong, and simulations aren't accurate due to actual full-scale nuclear islands wrong. Could pitching people not seeing the extinctions ever. Finland is the biggest region all of vectors near some of them. Nuclear didn't have it now. Emerging second back one is drawing not two back about the effects of the innovation cancel each other out. And environmental deterrence proof two cherry pick policymakers. We simply over exaggerate bias. That's code concede co-evidence and right that takes out any emerging tech often to read in. You can see no direction of innovation too. They won't go rogue, which takes out largely all of the often they went for no AG impact when it's concerns checkpoint. Massive physical limitations off unregulated AI tools intervention whenever AI becomes up to humans. It's necessary for the program and then ensure regulation 3 is limited, frequent hallucinations failing. The lack of consensus over AI makes it impossible to reach evidence. Yes, AI regulation theory is about soft law, not existing hard policy from Congress. It doesn't drive underground, even if it's developed, it won't cause extinction. That's Richard's group ASI possible. Our argument is that it won't cause extinction. Not that it won't happen, so it's largely irrelevant. We didn't go from the AI forward and bear except lower 92. Serious unresolvable AGI, COVID studies, country robots, links to the AGI, country diseases, community AI, capable engineers, instead of civilian believes in mystery market, mystery cheese subsets. Indians within the CCF card outweighs picture on beautiful, the risk is high, cover all is massive, and a single robot because it knows the check outweighs for school, absentee, solvency, advocates, and topic, keep one for the fix, no, picks are bad because it's an auto neg, doesn't check, it's hack authors only bear for the neg, choose legal ministry, no author costs for overhaul, and care, this copyright investment system, discrete focus key, uncheck these zero, and every app runs with insolvent neg ground is inevitable, no, in fact, one case turns IQ bad is an enormous flip base teaming with authors, choose app ground, turns HOA, worst to run one and done process apps that kill a generic, worst climbing other theory tech flows, track, no limits explosion, and then here, apps explode, perfectly denied, one controversy area, apps about a bill that failed or poor clock the air neg, the insurance of the vibrant case stores choose on strategic empiric disprove large deliver prints and small industries and lack of these impacts make them obsolete reuse reasonability good enough judgment intervention is inevitable because debate is decided or judge must decide and erase the bottom turns race to the top because it causes substance crime matters and good for the chemical. Drops now in the fiat order, it feels like allowing them to get infinitely many mandates that argumentation processes and new answers to is not a justification because no fiat require question that works to decide the firm. There's a solemnity debt of the courts in order, the congressional statute, Congress can't coerce courts to don't comply to the delay. Water down solemnity or reject a new challenge on pace that will discount. The state can't apply fails through it doesn't count. Fails the statute's not judicial uptake. The state courts say yes, it doesn't. Specialists live by the letter, extending federal judges to give their entire philosophy and professionalism is no risk. Firm plan process, cold drops, permit the plan through the process that cannot find it's functionally legitimate. It fails the cannot find policy formation and apps implementation is not a perm do both nor perm do cannot find because all the app passing through congressional channels by the consult recommendation of the app, it's better, 1% risk. If deficit means that inclusion of the plan's durable implications is best, double blind. If they say yes, it means the firm's not intrinsic, or the cannot result in the app, they say it's separate, it's not. Or it's not intrinsic either. Apparently means the stage of implementation begin immediately, not the app's magically coded into law with the snap of the finger. They say cost apply everything above, there's no world. Which you give all of this because you have no clue what floating offense applies, because I don't give it to them because it's too hard. Or give us new answers, they say ban the plan, I don't know, cross apply that text above, but process counter plans are need to be untenable, make copy breaches obsolete, utopian assistant, and have an odor because it makes deficits impossible.
What are the warrants under NEG fiat?
We're making fiat explodes limited something related. That's it.
No, I think that is. Also, sorry. Sparky's not cards, right?
Yeah.
What was the word for conduct as applied to the NEG fiat?
Oh, it was because Nick was my question.
Fiat's a correct question? Yeah. Okay.
that good? Wait, also, I'll just so that you know where to flow. The theory stuff will be at the top.
Okay.
Very good?
Yes.
No way to process counterplane badly can see the torque counterplane is a pick, it does not compute up certainty and immediacy, but insofar as it's a process counterplane or an enforcement pick, it's still good. One is testing, exclusive topic, but the best policy action in this area, and even so top class, you use the counterplane 2, negative flex, top siege, destroy the discrete class, choose their case only during counterplanes, balance your arbitrary distance versus theories, unpredictable regress, and then before we really conceded from totality, which means that putting up your custom subscribe. All of this dropped, which means why NEG is good, because Unkit explicitly grouped it on condos, it's not out for them. They've also conceded explicitly that measure social theories, arbitrary, it's not derivable from fringe principles, and that they make marginally more fair, but it's essentially regressive, and that we specifically get it versus new, which they have conceded, is because it's the only thing that hinges together next flex. It solves we certainly solve their limits offense. Yes, we can be a lot of things. You get things like permutations to test the competitiveness of those things, and you get deficits to the negative ability to be out. Certainly solves all of their offense. There just cannot be an outcome when it was explicitly answered. When it was explicitly answered in the one in our now. Go into the substance proper. The counterplane solves in our ways, finding a standard public necessity for cause protection, but do not mandate it while trying to follow a model for greater tortious authority. The framing issue for this debate is that they can win 100% risk of the deficit, but they're still losing because we have some defense to case and we have net benefit that's completely dropped, that's spillover that's completely dropped. They've not explained why as solvency is necessary for net benefit solvency, i.e. why the two are divorced. The net benefit was dropped, back contamination, cause extinction, divorce, partial colonization, which brings important pathogens towards Earth, which do not have natural resilience to guaranteeing extinction. Through protection to every single person on Earth that certainly outweighs drop probability, which means it's a certain guaranteed 100% impact. So you have to develop the counterplane because it's the only way to solve extinction, i.e. it's try or die. Spillover is absolute. One instance where there's a loan for sufficient to solve a broader one for experimentation and enables checks against back contamination. IP laws implemented over time and enables spillover broadly by setting a signal for increased adoption of the future, which is already me doing more work than I need to, and they've not contested that premise. They've not contested that premise in the first place. Now, deficit distance is fake. It does not apply because the counterplane has support and congressional enforcement, but competes off of regime of protection. And remember, it is a pick, not a process counterplane. It's nearly equivalent to the plan to get durably be out of deficits too, by guaranteeing good faith application from both the court and congressional backlash, even if they win 100% risk. That both of them are incompetent on their own, i.e. that's saying the counterplane fails in statutory courts. You don't say yes, and judges are good, and judges aren't saying yes. It does not make sense when we are still fiating those things through as effective. Now go to now. Do the plan through process is an absolute non-starter. They do not send a text until the 1 AR. So you strike it off your float in the first, which is also explicitly flagged in the 1 AR that counterplanes and permutations must have text unless do the counterplane or do both. Nowhere in the treaty they ever mentioned that the perm removes a part of the text which bans the plan at worst. Aaron NEG on new 2 AR explanations, but it makes absolutely no sense. It's supposed to apply to control counterplanes, but it's incoherent against this counterplane. Every do both deficit takes it out. 1, the counterplane bans the plan it severs because it offsets the application, i.e. it says that IP must be on net. 2, its signal. It models in the long term by resulting in the eventual application of the AFF that goes to signal of standalone efficacy of the deficit. More importantly, this is irrelevant because the process alone severs the AFF. 1, normal means. They can see that model of competition is best, and that the counterplane would subvert normal means by going through a distinct and unique process, or it does not make sense with their correct sense with their explanation, i.e. Then the permutation do both deficits certainly apply. 2, exclusivity. They allow for exclusions for certain instances. If they do the plan, then certainly links to that benefit by applying protection. Those instances, so there's no risk of permutation solvency, but the vast majority of guaranteed spillover in a certain risk of an existential threat means that you should do whatever you can to maximize counterplane solvency, and any small risk that the permutation fails should be enough because you know that the counterplane is guaranteed to solve extinction, and there's large risk that the counterplane also solves their process, and that they drop from permutation to the counterplane. That competition is based on the mandate, not the effect, and anything else versus between theory and substance. The counterplane bans the plan and weakens IP protection. So you functionally cannot do it through the process even if you strike through some words, but the permutation is illegitimate in the first place because they did not send out the text until the 1 AR. Now go to the case. Is the loss cause overpopulation? Overpopulation won't happen. It's empirically checked, and it's not relying on urbanization. Empirics prove. Sorry. No, actually, yeah. Go back to the. The permutation is also intrinsic. It adds an additional mandate and clarifies doing the process over something else, i.e. the way the text is written would have to apply to something else for torch clause to be implemented, and if it doesn't, then it does not solve the net benefit because it's extremely muddled and vague, and then you have no answer to the vagueness deficit, which is done on the intrinsic term. Now, go back to the case, there's no urbanization or overpopulation. 1, people will inevitably reduce post after 0 born. 1, the plan alone is sufficient to solve globally. 2, there's no impact of cards not get to an external terminal, which is the right line for impact. 3, finances. Cities don't have funding to improve sustainability, will relinquish financial control. No natural disasters. Also, record converts mandates for over 200,000 years. Extinction with more than 1%. That's the same evidence. And volcanoes are empirically found. Wildfires is not starter. And the extraordinary evidence is that super eruptions happen 1 per 100,000 years. So they're extremely unlikely to happen in the vast later in time, and it's not the end of the world because the effects on the climate are either short-lived and get checked by solar cycles.
He's gonna play.
Going for a purpose, I don't need the high risk of wildfires impact. It's absolutely massive. All of I was able to stand there is that there's no take up than that. No, but absolutely not. They consider that FEMA, natural disasters, and growth and climate change make it an existential but uniquely likely that only architecture is able to stabilize. The absence of that wildfire is non-linearly causes extinction through societal civilizational collapse and rising temperatures, which make the planet uninhabitable. Obviously, the net benefit is high. Not going for the deficit, but will prove by doing the process competes. Go to the Kent page there. Permitting the plan to the process of the Kent absolutely works. It's functionally legitimate. The outside Kent formation and the absent implementation conceded through 2 speeches from the theoretical evidence that those are distinct, even if the Kent is separate. The perm does not have to be topical because the inclusion of the Kent plan allows for us to be able to strike through it, making it functionally legitimate. All we have to win is that the absent inclusion is only implementation. As in, when we say the United States federal government must pass the act, we do not choose the means through which it is passed, only that it has a durable effect. Anything else, they didn't get into why that would be bad, so you should assume it's true. That means that you don't know what normal means, what it would go through. They haven't established an explicit one or how the Kent plan is distinct. So you know that the inclusion of the Kent plan through a distinct other normal means channel is able to solve for. I want you to look very closely at the Kent plan text when you decide your ballot. It explicitly says that through tortuous law that compels the act to be able to do something. Even in a world where you don't give them the ban plank, then a functional intrinsic term would include less of that. We don't need a text for it. It's net better. Concede dropped. A 1% risk of a deficit makes the inclusion of the plan's durable fiat net best. The double line obviously doesn't really matter. So I'm going to explain what happens here. There's the implementation and formation stage. The Kent plan would be the world of the implementation, which we would fiat. We would fiat that tortuous law compels the inclusion of that. Even if it's not certain or immediate, the app would still allow durable passage to be able to be tagged onto it. Our argument is not that it's topical or that it's mutually exclusive, but that through the fiat, through the compulsion of the torts counter plan, through the saying this is a way that we can do it, the app would be implemented as a result result of that, the way they could have beat this firm is by creating a deficit to the certainty as a reason why the certain implementation of the app would be able to work. That is how you do. That is how you beat the perm plan process under the Theodoglu evidence. So maybe they misinterpreted it based on the way we're contextualizing, but you know that it absolutely is solvent. I'll go to the line by line here. First, they say that there's no tax. We don't need one because it's functional insurance. It includes all of the app, only the implementation phase and part discrete realms of the counterplan, which you know is solvent. They say the counterplan that perm received tax, not going for it as a strikeout perm or as the one that we sent in the 1 year, though we would have if they dropped it. They say that you should error neg because it's absolutely incoherent, even if it is. I already explained above. The functional intrinsic word of the counterplan would include the implementation as driven by the counterplan's method because they've introduced the ability to permute that into the debate as per the 1 and C. It becomes competitive as soon as they read the debate. The only thing they can go for is a deficit to the desirability of it, of certainty, which they haven't. They haven't proven why certainty is bad, which means that it's all dead bad. They say the plan, the counterplan ban's offset doesn't need to be mutually exclusive because it's not permute both. It explicitly allows for us to be able to strike through that, already strike that above. They see signals results in eventual application. Absolutely not. The plan does not happen simultaneously as a part of the counterplan. All plans, every app that's passed, you only get to that implementation. That means that in the world of the app, explicitly conceded, you can't just snap your finger and let a bill pass. There's a process by which they determine here is how we will implement it, and then it is actually implemented, which means that it's not intrinsic, but it doesn't mean that it results in a bad signal. The app is just a result of the process happening successfully, which you are certain of. They say that normal means competition is bad. You have absolutely no clue what that means. It was probably a blip in the 2NC, but even if that's true, normal means competition doesn't mean that this perm itself doesn't compete. I already did that one. They say exclusivity. There's no they say exclusivity does also doesn't apply because it doesn't do them simultaneously. We explicitly said you do not give them new answers because all Unkit said was cross-apply literally everything I've made on perm dev sets. You know that that's not something that you're willing to give them. They say that torts is a pick, not applicable because of the fiat, the introduction of the fiat of the implementation. We're permuting that. They say that non-resolution of the errors arbitrary doesn't apply. I'm changing on stuff. They say we get it against new apps. Even if you get process counterplans against new apps, we've proven that there's a distinction that you can make. Even if you give them process counterplans, you still should need to prove that that picking out of the app certainty is a net benefit. They say firms, you get deficits. We're going for that right there, so they don't get anything else there. Otherwise, independently dropped instant nuclear cause extinction is faster than the counterplan study. Starts like peer-reviewed studies with 0 errors, includes extinction from global famine and smoke clear years. Causing icy flat whites, community drop 4 1-year cards, knock-on effects that disagree in aggregates. They explicitly concede our internal to nuclear validity, which means it's instant and surely outweighs the counterplan since the instant drop. I understand you're pretty confused about the contextualization of the permanent debate, so I'm going to make this really clear. The only way that you know that app happens is through implementation. You don't. The app implementation of the plan is completely divorced from the way they decide how to do it, which the counterplan generates. In order for them to beat this firm, they need to prove that their means of competition not only provide mutual exclusivity, but also a disad, a reason why that exclusivity of the different protection is net worse. They haven't done that, which means a normal means version of the app would be, or not even a normal means, but a way that we could fiat through their inclusion of the firm would be able to solve. It's like a uniqueness counterplan. They allowed the introduction into the debate, which means we are allowed to permit. They need to prove why the inclusion of the uniqueness counterplan in the app are worse, otherwise it goes away.
Yeah. There you go.
That correct was very sad. Yeah.
That is correct. I don't know which one's this. That's correct.
I put some spaces where I didn't just, okay. I put spaces in the cards where I
Okay, sounds good. That's good. Thanks. Appreciate it.